Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerds Fun 5 interview started playing paintball in 2000. In 2003, he got his first full ride sponsorship with the Viewloader All-Stars. In 2004, he went pro with Strange, where a lot of the team ended up with the Jacksonville Raiders. In 2006, in 2013, he joined Damage. And in 2019, he started playing 10-man with Chicago Aftershock. He's a SWAT medic. He's a career firefighter. He's a jiu-jitsu instructor. He's an all-around badass. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Paul Everett.
What's up, Paintball world?
Yeah.
What's up, Isaac?
Welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, how's it
Thanks
going?
for doing this.
Yeah, anytime, man. It sounds like fun. Kind of like hanging out at the field.
Kind of like doing 10-man, right?
Pretty much. We could be in the pits right now.
Dude, we were just talking about with the recording off how much fun 10-man is, right?
Dude, it's a whole nother thing. It's not even comparable, really. I think it's just all fun, no stress. Go out there and play. No pressure, just getting after it.
Why do you think it's more fun than X-Ball?
Man, the amount of training that you have to put in to be competitive in the pro division anymore it's on a whole nother level. I try to be like the world's best recreational pro player for a long time with all the plates I got spinning on the side. And it's just hard to keep up with guys like, in Russian Legion that this is their job and they're playing 4 days a week or, Dynasty or, any of the teams that basically are doing this as a full-time career. I'm kind of part-time in it. And it was tough to keep up.
Those guys are having fun?
Some of them, yes. And some of them you can definitely see where the pressure kind of gets to them or the monotony kind of gets to them and kind of sucks some of the passion out of the room. And then you can see teams usually bring in like these high energy leaders, like Tyler Harmon type of guys that just pump everybody up and kind of light that fire for the guys that struggle to really get excited anymore.
Yeah. Well, I have a little hypothesis. Tell me your thoughts on this, because I think at the core of paintball, it is a game, right?
Oh, 100%. Mm-hmm.
And it is a fun game at that,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the highest level, the highest iteration of this game is 10-man, competitive 10-man, because it maintains that reality that it is a game and not so much a sport.
I like it. Yeah, it's the classic format and the classic feel too. You kind of relied a little bit more on the skill of the game, and you don't have this Ferrari of a gun that does a lot of the work for you.
Yeah, and it's also, I think, the social aspect of it. When you go to a 10-man event and you have the ability to kind of walk around the pits and, say hi to your buddies on different teams. You're not rushing in between games. I think that adds to the lure, maybe, at least for me.
I agree. I mean, that's one of the funnest parts is seeing guys that, I haven't played on a team with for close to 20 years, some of them. And it's like, you see those guys out there in the pit and immediately we're joking around and busting each other's balls. And it just feels like I was 19 again or whatever, however old I was when I saw some of these guys.
Yeah.
I saw that a lot of the Viewloader guys are still playing on adrenaline and I see them now and it's just like we never have been apart. You're just right back to goofing off with them. And that's
talking about parts. Memories and, war stories. And I'm sure you've got a lot of them, man. You've been playing pro since 2004. What tell us about your most memorable moment in paintball.
Man, I don't know if I can pick one, but I can say that it's felt like I've lived through 3 paintball lives, and I've got different stories from each of the paintball lives. Going back to Team Strange, it was just an aura about that team that is hard to explain to people. If you never hung out with that team when the tour bus was around and you're just in the parking lot and these guys are, funneling beers and like, that's as close as you get to being a rock star in the paintball environment, showing up to a paintball tournament on a tour bus. And it's just 20 of your friends and you're there to kick everybody's ass and play paintball. that I think I was 20 at that time, and just getting I grew up pretty straight edge. So I was just getting my first taste of, kind of drinking and partying and living that rock star
Sure.
professional life. And it just kind of launches you into this realm that didn't seem real. I don't know.
Exactly.
We were just driving the bus to Chicago and making these stops along the way and just having all these crazy adventures. And, some of them are pretty blurry. A lot of bush lights through vacuum tubes and whatever else we could find to use as a beer funnel. And
Sure.
had a lot of fun. And then, transferring over to the Jacksonville Raiders. If anybody's ever met Doc, that if he's around, he's taking care of his players and he's keeping things interesting and fun. And he just had this facility that, had legit dugouts on each side of the field and perfect grass and a giant ref tower that was air conditioned and a PA system. And that man spared no expense for his players. And his generosity was unparalleled in the sport for a long time. And just in that environment, you'd come off of a hard day's practice and he's like, "Hey, everybody, we're going to Huckle Buckle." And he'd take two full X-Ball pro teams. He'd take them to whatever restaurant and order anything you want on the menu, boys. It's on me. You get bored and he's like going to Walmart and buying Xboxes and bringing them. I've got you some Xboxes, boys. And you wanted for nothing on that man's team. And he just was, he was a force in this sport, man. We miss him a lot.
Yeah.
And then moving on to Damage, that's where I think I started to feel the level change. I'm coming off like a 5-year break, focusing on my career and increasing my education, and then trying to play catch up and fighting for playtime with some of the best guys in the world at that time on Damage. Just coming off of 3 in a row pro wins at the top of their game, and fighting for playtime and playing against guys that never quit and generally did it for a living. It was hard to keep up, hard to get back, but their program there found good spots for me and made it easy to be successful in the places that I was in. And just every different team had its feel, but the Damage years were the most competitive and the most work, I think, where I was really having to up my game to make it to finals. It was tough. Those years. And then it's kind of go ahead
LP.
So then we're just kind of gear changed then into 10-man, and it was like just back to that all the enjoyment of paintball and none of the pressure and a lot less crazy schedule for practicing, and you could just come out and pick up your gun and walk out onto the field and play paintball again, and without that feeling like the world's on your shoulders, and if you get shot, you're gonna get benched, or if you get a penalty, you're gonna get bent. You're just out there having a good time. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's interesting that the majority of your memories, and this is a common theme, by the way, but the majority of your memories are off the field.
That's
off
true.
the competitive space, and it's more about the camaraderie that you have with your teammates. The interactions that you have with, like you said, Doc. And I think that's one of the most valuable. It has to be the most valuable thing in paintball is the relationships that you build and the impact that your teammates make on your life. You're funneling beers with your buddies. You're in your early 20s, and I never imagined Strange that way. I didn't think of him as partiers. I actually just interviewed BJ.
Okay.
And
yeah, man, he basically taught me how to play paintball. That man right there. He's one of the primary influences on my game.
We were talking about the discipline of Strange and how, they were really the first team to slow down X-Ball because everyone was go, go, go. And then, Strange stepped on the field and you couldn't really break their crosses. They'd shoot you. They didn't miss very often. So when I think about Strange, I think about a disciplined team that shows up and they have their X's and O's and they get out there and execute. I didn't know this side of, partying on the tour bus.
Oh man, they were like, we were giving free haircuts at the bus, and kids would come up and for a free T-shirt, they'd let us shave whatever we wanted into their heads. So we're giving them double mohawks and mullets, and we're shaving them in the front and giving them like the old man horseshoe, and they're just having a blast for a yeah, exactly, the fryer for a T-shirt. So just the charisma that some of those guys had made everything fun. It didn't matter what you're doing. They're just the stuff that you'd get away with. I mean, we had a paintball fight on the interstate. It devolved from a food fight at first, but we're in LA. We'd taken a bus trip out there, and we're driving down the interstate, throwing burritos and sodas at each other in the rental vans. And then somebody, breaks out a shocker and just turbos one of the other vans in full traffic. And you just see the look on people's faces, horrified. They're like, this is a terrorist attack. Everybody's calling 911. We're getting pulled over by a literal helicopter. It was just,
oh my gosh,
it was insane. Some of the stuff that we did and got away with was just wild. but fun times, man. And then you just transport right back. You start thinking about it, and you're like, man, I remember what it felt like to be there, to hear the sirens and the dogs barking. You're like, oh no, this is serious. This isn't. We're not playing paintball anymore. Like, this is potential jail time. This is not good.
Who is your favorite teammate throughout the years?
Man, I got a lot of them, but the people that I think that I clung to the closest and had a lot in common with were people like Dan Holiday. Around the time of youth, we just came up together. We were on local teams that saw each other at all the tournaments, weren't really playing with each other yet, but we're the same age. Brian Smith, he's another one. We just have so much in common. We work at the same fire department, same age. We both have kids that are close to the same age, but married. So we're living really similar lives. And it just, the camaraderie came easy.
Yeah.
But those two I've been with them probably the longest.
First chance I had to play with either of you, Holiday and you, was at this 10-man. It was a pleasure, man. You guys are ballers.
Yeah, that was fun times. Yeah, and they were reading me off this roster, and I was like, man, I haven't played with some of these guys, but I know they're good. That was my first time playing with Brad too. And really just
Brad is great.
Yeah, he just clicks right in there, man. He just know he's going to do his job and know he's going to play well.
Yeah, I think there's there's definitely some intentionality behind, what Paxton did with the roster. I think he knows what he's doing there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, him and Todd's are the masterminds of this 10-man thing. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah,
they call Todd the Lord of the Rings for a reason.
Exactly, dude. And it's like you're gonna win all weekend. He's just got the this persona. He's like and the way he talks, it kind of changes the way I talk when I'm around him. It's like, just like let's get it.
That's good. That's how it should be, man. Your players should be rubbing off on each other, and you're picking up everybody's positive characteristics and traits, and you leave the baggage at the door, and you focus on winning and having fun, and good things happen.
Yeah. And Poop is an amazing dude to watch because he's kind of like he kind of has this weird style, and he's always wiggling, like he's always like like a kind of like a bobblehead, like his
gun down, like you don't even realize he's shooting at you half the time because his gun's down kind of by his hip, and
and his strap is low on the back of his head, and he's like kind of like runs like this, so it's like he looks unassuming to the untrained eye, but he will shoot you. He will definitely shoot you.
Yeah.
But who's your favorite player to watch, LP?
Favorite player to watch. Again, we kind of go back to eras and people that I kind of came up watching. BJ was one of them. Him and Little Dave from Strange. I was watching them every weekend as a teenager, figuring out how to play paintball from those dudes. And then from the other coast, I really like watching John Richardson. I think he was on like Miami Effect and Excessive around those times, and he was just entertaining, really fast for a big guy. He could move really well, and just the way that he would read the streams and set up his plays, played through the middle. I really tried to emulate his style quite a bit coming up. And then like these days, you gotta love watching like Keith Brown. I mean, he's just that launch speed, that burst speed. Chad Brussiere, he's probably one of the most entertaining players to watch. If he's in there, you're like at any time he can just sprint the wire and turn it around. It doesn't matter if they're your up bodies, down bodies. He could be behind you real quick. So I like watching guys like that are just gonna go forward, die on their shield, try and make something happen, not looking to die out of their spots.
And that's one of the good aspects of the NXL format is like with all this training that you're doing, all this game playing that you're doing, all the pressure, it does create some diamonds, and people do some amazing things on that field that you're just like, wow, like how did he do that? How did he come up with that? How did he put that together so quickly?
Yep.
And those are some amazing things to see, for sure.
Yep, kind of at the point of my career now where it's kind of hard to rattle me with everything going on between, being on SWAT call outs and having actual bullets flying around to in jujitsu, and you got some heavyweight, brown or black belt on top of you and they're smashing you. You get into a paintball game now and you're like, I don't have any problems.
This is
yeah,
this is
exactly.
cake.
Exactly. So then you can just start like thinking a couple of moves ahead. You're not so hyper focused on that one moment and what you're going to do. You're kind of playing the chess game as opposed to the checkers.
Yeah, and you're enjoying yourself.
Yep.
So I see you got some cool jerseys back there.
Yeah, I got a couple more to hang, but let's see, which way do I go? That's one of my favorite Raiders jerseys. There is one of each of my pro teams here. That's a Damage, or I think my first Damage jersey, and then the Team Strange, and then I got an All Americans and an Aftershock still to hang.
There we go.
Yeah.
What's your most cherished paintball item?
Man, I heard you ask Paxton that, and I'm totally like not that kind of guy. Like I don't.
You have jerseys framed on your wall.
That must be it. So those and the trophies. Like I got a bunch of trophies, good trophies and rings, but like an item, like I don't know, a pair of gloves or a headband or whatever.
It could be a jersey, sure.
Yeah, jerseys it is. Then there you go. You see them. They're up there.
So which one's your favorite?
Strange for sure, man. Going pro for the first time and getting on the team that I looked up to coming up and learned from. And then going from, being a rookie and getting my head kicked into developing into the player that I would become. It all happened on that team for the most part.
Yeah.
So definitely the Strange one.
What are your thoughts, LP, on Strange's style, like their ability to lock it up? Did you feel that at the time that you guys were doing that, or is it just like we're gonna go out there and win?
Yeah, no, like on Viewloader, we basically looked at what they were doing and emulated their style quite a bit too. And we played very much the defensive game and analyzed fields in the same way. And, these guys had such a huge influence on the paintball scene in Florida and especially Tampa during that time. Everybody was just trying to copy what they were doing. And you could make unathletic teams athletic just by the way that they were playing the game and imposing their will on other people. So it took some of the pressure off the individual because you're getting plugged into this role and that's your job. And all I got to worry about is this lane for now. And then we'll clean it up later. But they were so analytical in their plans. It's kind of like and on the SWAT team, we call it like the event transition. After you get through the breakout and you dumped a bunch of paint, you're analyzing the situation and you're like, okay, we're up bodies now and they're down bodies and there's plenty of time. So we're going to go from the push, the sit and hold game to start closing the game out phase. And they just broke it down into these bite-sized pieces that made it easy to learn and super effective to impose your will on other teams on the field.
What do you think it takes today versus what it takes in the yesteryear to get to the top of paintball?
Man, now I see the guys that are the best in the game are like these really well-rounded athletes. They're dieting, they're working out, they're playing weekly. But all the teams pretty much that I played for coming up, we all had like real jobs and we all we never had huge flagship sponsorships for real. I mean, maybe Strange in the beginning did. They had a giant sponsorship, but the next two teams, it was like, we were weekend warriors as opposed to true professionals like some of the teams out there. And that's what it takes, I think, now is you really got to put the time in and stay hungry and keep that inner dog alive inside you. And if you're not really striving to be the best, you're going to fall somewhere at the lower end of the upper tier at best. And you see a lot of teams throwing around money to build these star-studded rosters. It's hard to compete with, man. You see Damage still doing it, bringing in players. I think they announced Rainey Stanzak yesterday. So, I mean, even with the talent pool that we got here and the players they got here, it's hard to build a competitive base right out of the town that you're in. And you kind of got to build rosters kind of like you said that Todd would do. You find the guys that fit the jobs that you need and you go out there with your wallet sometimes and fill those gaps. and that's what it takes.
Yeah. I think like the hard work that players are putting in to reach to the top at today's level, I think for a very small percentage of them, the juice is worth the squeeze, because these guys are working hard. It is a
Yeah.
career for them.
Yep.
But for a very minute percentage of pro paintball players are actually getting compensated for the effort they're putting in.
Yep.
The majority of them aren't, so I think it's in addition to what you said with the hard work, it has to be love. Like you have to absolutely love it, right? Or else why would you do it?
And it pretty much across every sport you see these guys work really, really hard to get to the top, but it's extremely difficult to stay at the top and stay motivated and spend years out there every weekend and pouring the blood, sweat, and tears in. So many guys get complacent and slow it down and just aren't practicing as much or aren't practicing as hard. And that the longevity is the hardest piece. Luckily, us older guys, we make up for that with experience. We got years and years in the game, so you can kind of close the gap a little bit just there. But I'm never going to be 20 again and as fast as I was. And I'm never going to be playing 3 days a week like I was, or and some people play even more than that. Some of these guys on Russians that are living out there at the Tiki's paintball field, they're out there 2-3 days during the week. Yeah, exactly. And you're never gonna get that out of me. I'm never gonna be able to live that life with everything else I got going on. But it's awesome to see people set the bar in the industry, and you see it from those guys. I mean, I'm sure you watched some of the Russians this weekend and the stuff that they were getting away with, even with mechanical guns. You're like, holy crap, those guys are like super athletic, and their timing is super crisp, and their shot is dead on. And those are the guys you gotta break them apart with plans. You gotta plan for them and scout them, and that's the only way you're gonna beat them.
Yeah, but they certainly can be beat, and that's that's the paintball gun is the equalizer, right?
Yes, it is. Yep. Don't matter how fast you are, you're not 300 feet per second.
Exactly. So it's it's interesting. Like paintball is an interesting game, and I wonder what type of evolution we're going to see in the formats, because I think that paintball does need to grow, right? It's a sport that needs to grow, to thrive, to stay in business. And like I think that the style of play X-ball, it has an expiration date for most individuals. Like you can only do that for so long. So, I wonder if there's going to be a shift in what is the premier format, because if the sport wants to grow and we want to target a larger demographic, what better way to do that than to make the highest level of the sport more accessible to guys like you and me and Poop, and maybe some older guys that have wisdom, that are not as fast, but they're smooth. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. It's the old
true story.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's going to be some shift in formats from that, from that reality.
I can tell you for sure there's going to be a big turnover in the industry as opposed in considering who's at the top of the game. Now you got teams like Damage, everybody's creeping on 40. You got teams like Dynasty, everybody's creeping on or as at 40. You got 2 more years, 3 more years, 5 maybe, and then you're really going to have to see flagship teams like that pulling in brand new and young rosters and training up the next generation of warrior, and that's where things really start to get mixed up. But I don't know as far as formats and what else can be done. I kind of play a lot on the tactical side too, shooting munitions out of real guns, and that's super fun. It's kind of like airsoft, but I think
it does leave like a paint mark, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a paint bullet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a paint bullet,
That's
and those
badass.
things are smoking. I don't know how fast they go, but they're probably 500 to 800 feet per second, if I had to guess. And it's kind of like a hard plastic cap, so you feel it when it hits you. It's not as big as a paintball, not as much mass, so it doesn't leave big welts, but they sting when they get you in the right spot, the hand or the head or whatever.
It's like a Tylenol gel cap flying at you.
Yeah, at twice the speed of a paintball, but it's just different. It feels different, and it's still super fun. You're just kind of like in these CQC close quarters environments, clearing rooms and clearing houses and setting ambushes inside rooms. It's just a totally different feel in paintball, but still so much of it translates.
I could see that being big because I think the only flaw in airsoft is the fact that there's no evidence that you got shot. You're really
Yes.
depending on the ref. And when you're trying to compete at the highest level and money's on the line, people cheat in paintball already. So you're telling me in airsoft, if 5 grand is on the line for a player and he gets hit and the ref doesn't see it, he's going to call himself out? There's no way.
Yep.
But
And refs
if you
can't
had the
see it all.
simulation rounds and that thing you can't help but flinch when you get hit by it and it leaves a mark, that could be something there.
Yep. Yeah, they're gonna have to increase the frat. Like they're pretty hard. So I'd say most of the time, especially at range, you get hit and it doesn't actually leave paint. But you get those close range shots or it hits something hard and it's definitely leaving a mark.
Yeah.
So there's probably some evolution that would have to happen with the ammunition, but
sure.
Either way, I'm just
and they make a sound, right? Like it's gunpowder, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's not loud enough that you need ear pro, but you can definitely hear that someone's shooting at you. If you're not feeling them come close to you, you can hear that's a gun going off.
And those rounds are pretty expensive, I imagine.
Yeah, the team. I'm lucky enough to work in a county where the team is buying those for us. But I've heard that when they were in short supply, they're paying close to $1 a round, which is insane.
Oh, see, that's a challenge there for sure.
But it encourages movement, right? You can't carry 1,500 rounds on you like you can in paintball. You got maybe 3-4 mags on you, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you can move around a lot more. Yeah, opens the door where people aren't just shooting lanes. It just changes the dynamic of the game.
Yeah. Cool. Well, LP, what would you say that out of all the things that paintball has given you, the relationships, the travel, the fun, what are you most thankful for?
It's definitely been the people in my life that have made it all happen. I mean, I've always had guys, with really good sponsors, but guys like Doc that spent a ton of money to, help me travel the world. Or I just on Viewloader, it was JT. They're cutting the checks for me to fly around the United States and play paintball. So all of the industry sponsors and all of the team owners that were kicking their own money into the pot to let a guy like me just kind of travel around and play a game. Definitely the most thankful for that. And a family, awesome. A supportive family, man. My family's been more than accommodating for me playing a kid's game at close to 40.
Awesome. Well, LP, thank you so much for your time here. Is there anything that you want to part with for the paintball community?
Just keep your eye on those ICPL events, man. If it comes anywhere near Florida and I'm there, I'm the one you're gonna have to fight and I'm not leaving there without a ring or a golden pineapple. I think was the last one, or a championship belt.
Yep,
I'll be out there in the trenches swinging against you. But
awesome.
Let's get out there and have some fun.
Cool. Thanks, LP.
Yes, sir.